Hey guys, are we recording? Okay. Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Jay Bales. Thank you for tuning in. Um, on today's episode, I just want to get into how the radical left imposes belief systems, and the rest of us are supposed to go along with that because in their mind it's the moral thing to do. It's the moral, upstanding, good citizen obligation to go along with the PC culture, the PC narrative. And anybody who shies away from that is a racist, is a xenophobe. And it really is a elitist way of thinking. But anyway, I want to give you an example of what exactly it is I'm talking about. Now, bear with me because I am using new software, so it takes me a little bit. I'm a little bit slow when it comes to this, so just bear with me for 1 second. Let me put it on the screen, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so if you guys watch The Fallen State with Jesse Lee Peterson, he had a woman on who was transgender.
Peterson, thank you so much for being with me. America is divided over same-sex marriage
and you guys can watch.
My guest today is Tamika Butler, co-chair of the National Center.
Tamika Butler, that's her name.
She received her JD from Stanford Law School in 2009. Thank you so much for being with me.
Thanks for having me.
So you're a lawyer.
I'm a lawyer by training, but I no longer practice law.
And just listen to what she believes. She wants to impose her belief systems on somebody else, on everybody else.
On race discrimination, gender discrimination, LGBT discrimination, and I had great clients. The work was really important, but I didn't like being a litigator.
Are you a Christian?
Yes, I was raised in a black family.
Okay, now she claims to be Christian because she was raised in a black family and da-da-da-da-da, but that doesn't mean you're a Christian. Just because your parents are Christian, that doesn't mean that you are.
But she's probably was easier to accept than even my parents.
Oh, really? Your grandmother? Mm-hmm. And how does God feel about homosexuality?
He created me, and if he didn't want me to be this way, then I imagine he wouldn't have created me this way.
I agree that God created us. Do you believe that God created homosexuality, the spirit, the sin of homosexuality, or did some type of trauma happen to bring that on?
I can't speak for everyone, but in my life there was no trauma that brought it on. I was raised by both of my parents. My dad was in the military. I traveled the world. I had two parents who loved me, who were always there for me, who coached my teams, who were always showed up at school. I was a great student. Obviously, I got into Stanford Law School, and I think he created me to be a strong black queer woman, and I don't know that I...
Okay, now let me stop right there. She is going on and saying that God created her to be a black queer woman. And I have no problem with that. And I think the majority of people don't have a problem with her choice to live a certain lifestyle. The problem then becomes that if, and I'll show you guys, but the problem then becomes when you go to the government and start writing laws forcing people who are not gay, who are not homosexual, forcing people who don't believe that homosexuals are should be married, then imposing belief systems on everybody else and saying that if you do not follow the law, then you are subject to jail time, you are subject to a fine, you basically, what she is doing, she is a black lesbian activist, which again, I have no problem with that. The problem then becomes she believes everybody else should serve her. So if she wants a gay wedding cake and she goes to a bakery and she goes to the one baker out of 100 who doesn't believe in homosexuality and they don't serve her, and the owner of the bakery is against homosexuality and doesn't feel it is right or goes against their belief systems, she then is going to run to the government and force that bakery, that one bakery, to bake her gay wedding cake or whatever have you. Now, I'm just using that as an example. This is where the problem starts. So, me personally, again, I don't have a problem with queer people. What I do have a problem with is queer people running to the government and enacting laws, forcing the rest of people to go along with those, and if you don't, you can go to jail. That is what I'm against, and everybody should be against that, even gay people. And personally, I know plenty of gay people who are against the government going and forcing other people who don't believe in a certain system or don't believe a certain way and imposing their will on others. I know plenty of gay people who would be against that. And yet this Stanford graduate, who is a black lesbian, who is queer, and is just an evil, evil woman. I mean, that is my belief. I believe she is a evil, wicked person. Because she's also a dangerous person. Because she is close to power. She is believes in whatever the government tells her to believe. And I'll show you right now.
Homosexuality every day.
I hope you guys can hear this.
Everyone leads their own journey. If someone believes that it's something for them to overcome, then that's their opinion. I personally don't feel that way. And I think, in fact, there are many people who are much happier when they just accept who they are.
Do you believe that most human beings are in a fallen state?
What do you mean?
Meaning that they have fallen away from God. And in that fallen state, they are unconscious. They don't have the awareness of God, so wrong seems right and right seems wrong to them.
So do I believe most humans are in a fallen state? I don't know that I believe that most humans. I think there are people who are Christian, and I think those people might self-identify that way, but I don't know that I think everyone is that way.
When did you know that you were a lesbian?
Pretty early on. Probably in middle school, we got cable, and there was the show on MTV, The Real World, and they had gay people on that show, and I think that's the first time I even knew what the word gay meant.
Right.
And I think that's when it really made sense for me.
There are Christians who disagree with homosexuality. There are Christian bakers who refuse to bake a wedding cake and participate in a same-sex wedding, and they're now being fined and punished for that. Should a Christian private business be forced to participate in a so-called same-sex wedding?
Key.
We can all agree that anybody who's being discriminated against the law is wrong. And it's
But if you have a private business, if you wake up one day and decide, I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to use my money, my energy, my time. Shouldn't you have the right to discriminate against whomever you want to? Because it might not be good for you financially, but you do have a right who you can serve.
Going back to my grandmother who grew up, in South Carolina at the height of racism, there were private businesses who told her she could not sit at the lunch counter. There were private businesses who told her she could not drink from their water fountains. And there were people who stood up and said that was wrong. You have to respect the law, and if the law says you cannot discriminate, then you should not discriminate.
But even in those days when your grandmother and others were forcing private businesses to service them, they were wrong for doing that, because no one has a right to impose upon a private business. So even back then, I thought that was wrong, and I grew up under.
Now that is key, and see, this is where I start to get angry, because here you have a person who uses identifiers, uses all these leftist terms to basically impose a belief system that says, serve me or I'll have you thrown in jail, okay? I mean, essentially that's what it is. I mean, you are now a private business being forced to serve people, and if you don't serve people, you are going to go to jail, you will be given a lawsuit, and the government should not have that power. That's a dangerous power, because where does it end? Where does it end? If the government has that much power over a private business, then there is no end. And people like this are always going to be imposing their will. They're going to be able to impose their will. And that is a key word, able. Because for centuries, America was a free nation. Private businesses, whether you agreed with it or not, were allowed to discriminate. And it's just been over the past 40, 50 years that government has really grown, and with it, its authority.
The Jim Crow laws, I remember the colors on the signs, but I've always thought that if I own a business, I have a right to service who I want. No government or anyone else should be able to tell me who to service.
And so I guess
right,
that's
and
fundamentally disagree.
You should be able to. I agree with Jesse. You should be able to discriminate against whoever the hell you want. It's your business. The fact that the government is overreaching and telling businesses who their customers should be is very scary and very dangerous. And, I mean, if, say, I don't agree with homosexuality because my religious beliefs conflict with homosexuality, then I should be able to do whatever I want with my private business. And that's what the separation of church and state was about. But what's happening now is you have people like this who, in my opinion, is an evil person. You have people like this who are planted in government and are there strictly to change the way America is, to strictly change America forever, and they are doing that, and they have succeeded for the past 40, 50 years. You have institutions that have gone way, to the left, Hollywood, government. We are very pro-homosexuality. We are very pro-promiscuous, sexually promiscuous in culture today, and I don't think it's good for the family. But it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what my opinion is. This goes back to whether the government has that kind of power over other individuals, over other businesses. And I just don't think the government should have that much power. I mean, we had to fight 2 world wars because of out of control governments who imposed their belief systems on religious, sex, and all kinds of things. That's what World War II was about. That's all World War II was about. And now you have a person who is a Stanford graduate and calls herself a black, lesbian, queer, what all these identifiers. She doesn't call herself American first. She doesn't say I'm an American first. She says, no, I'm black, I'm queer, I'm a man, I this and that, and that is divisive, and that is why I don't agree with the left, because the left has all these identifiers and has a hierarchy that says that if you are black, queer, and you are a minority, you are more discriminated against, you are more cast out of this racist, evil, white country, and you deserve more. You deserve to be in front of the line. And it's just not what traditional America's belief systems were. America never believed in such bullcrap, and this is scary. But I will say this: the left is caving. The left is dying. The left is cannibalizing. You are seeing the Democrat Party implode, literally implode on itself. And the reason, well, because people are waking up to this manipulative psychology that the left has entrenched on the young, on the old, and it really is evil in my opinion. But my opinion is my opinion. I am not imposing my opinion on anybody else. That is key. Now, let's continue. And she then goes to explain why she believes government and the law is there and should be respected no matter who makes the law and no matter what the law says.
I think.
Let me ask you this, is it right to do that? For a group of people to force you with your own private business to service them if you don't want to?
I think it's right once we as a country say there is a law. I think it is right for people to respect that law, and often that means you cannot discriminate against other people.
What I don't understand about it is mostly radical LGBT people. They are going around the country and they are looking for Christian businesses and organizations to impose themselves upon. What is wrong with them that they think they have a right to do that and the Christians don't have a right to fight back? Why? I don't see them doing it to Muslims or Jewish businesses.
They soon will.
They think they have a right to impose upon Christians.
Well, for me, I think it's a hard question to answer because I don't think it's a good question. I think the premise just I don't know that I agree with it. I don't know what a radical LGBT person is. You have cases, and cases come from real life incidents, and I think that more time than you have so-called radical.
She doesn't know what a radical LGBTQ person is because she is one. And she's lying. She does know what a radical LGBTQ person is because she identifies as a radical LGBTQ person. So she's basically saying that she doesn't want to answer the question because the question, she does not like the question. That's why she doesn't want to answer it. Let's continue.
Well, folks, I think you actually have folks like my wife and I who just say, I want a really good cake. I like dessert. And I heard from my friends that this place has good cake. And so you go to that place and you don't expect to be discriminated against. You don't expect to be violated.
I don't agree with that. When you go in there and you say, I want a gay cake, a homosexual cake.
What is a homosexual cake?
Because
I think to say, if you
Okay, see now, that's where this kind of gets blurry because, and you know, no business should be forced to serve anybody. Okay, just because you are gay and you are going to get a cake made does not mean that the business should serve you and your belief systems. That's not what government is there for. Government is not there to force people to serve a certain class or sex of people. And so she believes that every business should serve her, and if they don't serve her or don't agree with her lifestyle, they should go to jail. And that goes against everything America was and is. And it's just a shame. It's a shame that the most radical elements of society have found their way into traditionally centrist government. But let's continue, and you guys can judge for yourself. Listen, I don't have a problem with homosexuality. I don't have a problem with gay people. I have a problem with the government getting involved, and everybody, no matter what your race, color, or creed is, should be worried about that.
You and I eat the same cake. My cake isn't homosexual because I'm gay. Just like if we order pizza and you take a slice and I take a slice, it's not a gay pizza.
But why would you pass up?
Right, but if, God forbid, the business doesn't serve you, then you should have the right to basically shut them down or file a lawsuit. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, nobody has that power. If you don't like a certain business, right? If you don't like Walmart, then you can go to Target, right? The business doesn't simply exist to serve your belief systems. The business isn't there to conform to who you are. If you don't like what the business is doing, you can go across the street to Target. If you don't like what Walmart is doing, you can go to Target. If you don't like Planet Fitness because you feel you're being discriminated against, you can go to Gold's Gym. You can go to LA Fitness, right? So, again, I just don't like the way she believes her way of life should be imposed on other people who are traditional practicing Christians or Jews or Muslims. I don't agree with it.
A gay bakery to go to a Christian bakery that you know does not want to service you.
I don't want to presuppose that I know.
No, you know that most Christians don't want to participate in that.
Oh, I don't think that's true.
Why they attack. I mean, you have some that do, but most
I don't think that's true.
If you went to a Christian baker, would you sue them? Would you personally sue them?
I don't know. I'd probably talk to my wife, and we'd probably make that decision together. And I think it would depend on.
Okay, the answer there is yes. She would talk to her wife. Her wife would say, let's sue the hell out of them. And she would go run to the government, and then the government would, somebody from the government would file a lawsuit, and she wants the law to say that she wins. That if the bakery does not serve her to her beliefs, to her liking, then she has the right to sue. And that is currently what is happening in America in 2019. This is a perversion of the civil rights movement. This is no longer about race. This is no longer about creed. This is now about beliefs. Okay, and that's scary. That is very scary because governments can once the snowball effect is tumbling down the hill, the snowball quickly becomes big and out of control. And I just think this is a dangerous precipice. Okay, let's continue.
on what we experienced.
But you know your own heart, what you want to do there.
I was raised by strong black women who taught me that I only got where I was because other people stood up and said when things were wrong. And so I think that the reason I was a civil rights lawyer, I think the reason I do civil rights work is because I was raised to believe that you have to speak up when people do things that aren't right.
So you would sue them.
I would speak up.
But would you sue?
Like I said, if it was me and my wife, I would talk to my wife.
When you say wife and you being a woman, that doesn't sound, I mean, I understand that you like that and you accept it, but it doesn't sound strange to you to say me and my wife and you are female?
No, it feels great. It feels great to find a person who loves me for who I am, who supports me, who makes me laugh, who does the laundry. When I don't do the laundry, that feels really...
See, now the left's argument here is the civil rights movement, right? So they would have you believe that this is nothing more than an extension of the Civil Rights Act of 1966, and this is a good moral thing for the country, that gay LGBTQ people have a right, an equal right to have, I don't know, representation under the law. And I just don't buy it. I mean, I don't think that LGBTQ people should be looked at or deserve a spot in front solely because they're gay. I think that everybody should be judged by being a good moral person, not by simply being gay or transgendered. I mean, this is no longer about equality. Because if we had equality in America, we wouldn't be using these terms. We wouldn't be selecting people by the color of their skin. We would just all be American. We would all be assimilating. We would all be intermarrying, right? The way it used to be. And instead, we now have these selective terms, these different creeds, that is coming from the left. Okay, this isn't coming from the right. So when the left cries racism, they really can't explain why something is racist. Did you ever notice that? That when a leftist cries racism, that's the end of the argument, right? So when Ilhan Omar calls the president racist, and the president responds and says, why is me criticizing you racist? Ilhan Omar doesn't then explain why. So why? The left is basically imploding here.
Really awesome to have a partner in life who I know I can always depend on. Makes me happy.
Does it bother you that the two of you can't have children together?
I think it's inaccurate to say as two women we can't have children. We can have children.
But you can't, not together. You can't get
But
in
again,
bed.
my heterosexual friends can't have children
I know
together
that's not a
either.
normal situation. Normally, a man and a woman can have a baby, but due to some type of defect, you do find cases where a woman might not be able to have children, have a baby, or a man can't make it. But there's no way that you and another woman can get in bed and make a baby. Do you ever wonder, well, if God made me a homosexual and He intended for me to be with another woman, and knowing that I would want a family, why did He make it possible for me to lay down with another woman and make a baby? Have you ever thought about that?
I believe God has created all of us So if God created the people who figured out how to help my heterosexual friends who very much want children, and the fact that He created a way for them to do that, that we as a world, as a people, have figured out how to operate in those situations, it leads me to believe that it is possible. So it doesn't feel weird, and you know, you can ask me 4 different ways, but I'm never gonna think it's weird because it's who I am.
Do you believe that children...
Okay, well, it doesn't matter if it's weird or not. In the end, people should not be able to impose belief systems. The government should not be able to impose belief systems on private businesses. This is the argument. It has nothing to do with whether you believe gays or believe in homosexuality. This supersedes that problem. This is the real question that we should be asking is, does the government have the right to impose belief systems on private businesses? This is the argument. It's not, opinions really don't matter here. So, you know, that's the argument. And this, the lesbian activist here is making an argument that government does have a right to impose belief systems on other people, and basically that is the sentiment. That is the argument here. Let's continue.
The influence of a father and a mother.
I think children need the influence of people who love them and care about
How
them.
about a father and a mother? Do you believe that they need that influence of a father and a mother?
I have had too many friends who have been raised by single parents. One, as a military kid, where I have had friends and I have had people in my community whose parents have died serving our country. I have had too many people who I know and who I respect and who I love who have been raised by single parents, dads or moms, to believe that it is impossible.
Okay, so she has had experiences, she claims, with people dying in combat overseas, and you know, basically what she is saying is she agrees that single parenthood is a bad thing, but what she fails to convey is that the state, which doesn't care about you, she claims that the state should replace the father with a belief system that others are forced to go along with. And so you no longer have the right to disagree because the government is all-knowing and all-powerful, and she is making the argument that government knows best, when throughout history it is obvious that freedom is rare, that freedom, you have to die for freedom. And for somebody to just come in here and, you know, because of her labels, to you know, that automatically you know, brings her to the front of the line over other people. I mean, I just don't buy it.
Possible to raise a brilliant, loving,
Give
mature
me a
child.
yes or no to the question. Do you believe that the
I just
children,
did.
boys and girls, need the influence of their father and mother?
I just answered your question. I'm sorry if you didn't understand.
Yeah, I missed it. I'm black and slow.
So
So
do
basically
you need
there she
influence of a
says,
father and a mother.
no, she doesn't believe that. She says, yes, single parenthood, single motherhood is bad, but she doesn't believe that a child does better or should have a father and a mother in their life. This is the key argument against homosexuality. This is the key argument against gay marriage. And basically it's the key argument against leftism, far radical leftism, is that when you are gay or transgendered, you can no longer procreate, or if you're sexually promiscuous, it can lead to single motherhood. Now, this is something that the left wants to sweep under the rug. The left claims to be for women's rights, claims, to know what's best, but also at the same token claim, basically rewards sexually promiscuous behavior. And the two conflict with each other. You cannot have women's rights and say that you're for, the Me Too movement, for example, and also be for sexual promiscuity. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I think it is my belief that children need the influence of people who love them, care about them.
No. That's not true, because people who love and care about other children, they are not the same as a mother and father. Okay? So, in 1944, the Nazi Germany, Hitler Youth, Adolf Hitler claimed to love the Hitler Youth, claimed to be a protector for the youth, when really we all know what the end result was. And so, no, I mean, and she knows that deep down. She knows that her belief systems are flawed. She should. But basically, she disagrees with Jesse on this fact, while kind of being passive about it and not wanting to answer the question.
I'm sorry I answered your question.
As a Christian, do you believe in sin?
I do believe in sin, yeah.
And what is sin?
For me, the easiest way to explain it, especially for non-Christians, is, I try to lead a life where I don't treat people differently than I want to be treated.
So, what is sin?
I'm sorry that we're missing each other, but I feel like I answered that question.
To treat people the way you like to be treated?
I feel like the cardinal sin is not treating other people well.
So when radical homosexuals impose on Christians who don't want to participate in their lifestyle, is that a sin?
I don't know what a radical homosexual is.
She doesn't know because she doesn't want to know. Okay? Her beef is with straight heterosexual couples who claim to be able to do whatever they want. And that's where her beliefs are flawed. I mean, there are plenty of things that straight people can't do that gay people can't do either. I mean, it's I just don't think it's a good thing.
The ones who are trying to get the laws changed. For example, there's an Oregon couple fined $135,000. Colorado's Supreme Court refused to hear another baker's appeal. So I want to know from you, should the court have the power to force bakers to make same-sex wedding cake? And is that a sin to force them to do it?
So I think that the court has the power to enforce the law, and I think the Colorado court deciding not to hear the case was a victory for equality and a victory for anyone who doesn't believe in discrimination.
So how is that a victory for equality? I don't understand that. Just because you're forcing businesses to serve homosexuality, that is not necessarily a victory for equality. I mean, equality should be looked at as equality of free speech, equality of differing viewpoints, of differing opinions. And we all know that the radical left is not for equality of opinions or equality of outcomes. What they want is equality to those who lost, to those who have lost in the economy. Basically, they want equality of outcome, and it's not. You'll never have that I mean, mathematically, you can never have that. If somebody works hard and they work 20% harder than somebody else and they make 20% more money than somebody else, then does that person who makes less then have a right to say, no, he has more than me? He should pay me or he should be taxed. It's a ridiculous, ludicrous idea that's been tried throughout history and has failed. And it just blows my mind that these, so-called graduates of these, illustrious colleges, right, are so dull, are so dumbed down by history. Just, it's amazing.
What is sin? Is there any other sin besides treating each other the way we would like to be treated?
I mean, what do you think?
I say, yeah, a bunch of them.
Like what?
Two men or two women acting as though it's a man and a woman. God is not for that. He didn't create that sin, and He would want you to overcome it. That's why Christ came, so that we could overcome the, sin.
But I don't know all gay people, but I feel like it's not about pretending like one of you is a man and one of you is a woman. It's just being who you are and being open to love and being loved.
So as a Christian, you don't know what sin is.
Okay, so basically, I mean, we all agree everybody should be able to practice whatever belief system they want. Okay, that's what freedom is. But nobody has the right to then run to the government and say that a certain group of people have to obey and serve people that they don't like. I mean, it's ludicrous. People should be allowed to disagree and discriminate on people that they don't like. I mean, it's just the fact that we're losing this argument is not good. It's not a good thing. And this is where I'm going to end this right now. I just wanted to make a video on this. That whether you're for gay marriage or you're for homosexuality or whatever, do you believe that the government should force Christians and practicing Jews to serve people that they don't agree with, that their religion tells them are sinners? Do you believe the government has the right to force Christian businesses to serve people that are strictly there to force their belief systems? That's the question. And I'm going to end it right there, guys. This is a brand new computer program I'm using. I'm trying to figure it out. There I am. Again, this goes back to, does the government have the right to force you to go along with a certain set of beliefs? And then if you don't agree with it, you can go to jail and have all these terrible things happen. Should the government have the right to do that? And the radical left thinks that they do. And this is the fight. This is the fight. And I just want to say, I am friends with gay people. I know gay people. And not all gay people believe in this viewpoint. I mean, I know plenty of gay people who are Republicans. I know plenty of gay people who are against this transgender bathroom law. I mean, I know plenty of gay people who are not going along with the radical left. And so this notion that all gays and queers and transgenders are radical leftists, it's just not true. It is my belief that the institutions are using these people to pass their agenda, and that they're using gay people to pass a bigger agenda, and that agenda is total control. Total control over your life, total control over your belief systems, total control over information, you name it. And Trump, in my opinion, was a victory against radical governments. Now, I don't agree with everything Trump is doing, but I do believe he wants the best for the country. And you gotta wonder about people like Tamika. Does she want what's best for the country, or does she just want what's best for herself? Okay. Thank you, guys.